Hi, I'm Robin Ficke. I'm the Senior Vice President for the Research Center at World Business Chicago. I'm here with Joey Mak, the CEO of Chicagoland. We're going to learn a little bit more about what Chicagoland has been up to over the past 5 years. Joey, can you tell us a little bit about Chicagoland? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, Robin. So I'm Joey Mak. I'm the CEO of Chicagoland. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our mission is to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in the city's venture capital and startup ecosystem. We have a vision for Chicago where all entrepreneurs, regardless of their immutable characteristics or the circumstances of their birth, can get the resources and importantly the capital they need in order to grow and scale their businesses. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your origin story. Like, why did that why Chicagoland?
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched 5 years ago, back in 2018, and it really started out as a grassroots effort among a group of local venture capitalists led by a woman named Lindsay Knight, who's a partner at Chicago Ventures. She's been in the industry for almost 10 years now, really a thought leader. But it was this group of VCs that came together really out of a concern about the underrepresentation within the city's venture ecosystem. And 2018, it was right on the heels of Me Too. And something that was interesting that was happening was during that watershed moment in our nation's history, a lot of portfolio companies were reaching out to their investors, to their VC firms, asking, what can we be doing during this moment? And I think a lot of VCs just really felt somewhat ill-equipped to provide that type of guidance. So it was really kind of that whole moment, that whole effort that brought these different VCs together to figure out what can we be doing. So that was 5 years ago. And then certainly after the pandemic, after everything that happened with George Floyd.
How has it changed since then?
Absolutely. That was really when a lot of again, it was this ragtag group of VCs when they ultimately decided, you know what, if we are actually going to make a difference in the venture industry, we really need to have a concerted, focused effort. So it was in 2020 that we formally incorporated. And then they went out to hire an executive director. So I was employee number one, and I started in 2021.
Congrats. Wow, wonderful. So then how has the focus of really the VC ecosystem in Chicago changed over the past 5 years since Chicagoland has started? Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, what have you seen that's different now?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, well, if you go back even further in the past 10 years, there was a point in Chicago's history where we weren't really seen as a place where there was a lot of venture capital. So it was really firms like Chicago Ventures, Pritzker, a couple other groups. We really kind of needed that critical mass. In the past 5 years, though, I think there has been a heightened focus on prioritizing equity in terms of how capital is deployed and in terms of the companies that are and the founders that are able to get the capital they need, which has been really exciting, but clearly there's still a lot of work to do. But in the past 5 years, we've certainly seen things like Chicagoland. World Business Chicago has been really at the forefront of leading a lot of that equity work, especially within the tech community. So we're really excited to continue partnering with WBC. But I think over the past 5 years, there's been this increased focus on equity. And I think that's actually one of the things that makes the Chicago tech ecosystem quite unique.
Yeah, that's actually was my next question, just to kind of build on that. Well, how is Chicago unique from other ecosystems? Yeah, what's different here, if anything? And really, how could we be even more of a leader in this space?
Yeah, well, my answer to that would be I think our superpower is really in our diversity. We have so many different neighborhoods. We have so many different people, so many different industries. So whether it's demographic diversity of industries, diversity of just the geographic makeup of the city, all of these things, when you look at the grand total of it all, it makes for such a robust ecosystem, a robust city. And I think that is unique in terms of how it is manifest in our tech community and in our broader business community.
Yeah, that's actually really great. So then what I've heard is that you apparently there is also one thing that you've launched that's different is a fellowship program. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Yeah, I'm curious to see. Yeah.
So I definitely want to share that. Something that I think is important to understand before we go into kind of the why of the fellowship program is just another part of Chicago's Blend's work, which is data. So we do a lot around just trying to measure the diversity gap within the venture ecosystem. So since 2018, we've been
work.
I know something you can definitely appreciate as well with the research work you're leading at WBC. But from 2018 to 2022, each year we have measured, looked at the VC workforce in the region to understand what are the demographics of our region and where are the gaps from an equity standpoint. So I was just looking at the numbers this morning, but from 2018 to 2022, the share of women who are working in venture capital in this region jumped 7%, from 28% to 35%. Right. The share of women in investing roles jumped 6%, from 19% to 25%. Yeah. We've also seen, an upward trajectory in terms of Black and African Americans working in venture capital. That went up 5% for them in that 4-year period. Right. And then for folks who are Hispanic or Latino, that jumped up 3%. So from a representation standpoint, we are starting to see some improvement in the share of underrepresented folks who are working in venture.
That's important.
But, for us, you can't improve what you don't measure. But and even though we are seeing this upward trajectory, we are still a long ways away from achieving equity, right? So that's really the genesis and the whole purpose behind the Chicagoland Venture Fellowship. So this is a program that launched last year, and we did so with financial support from World Business Chicago, as well as an organization called Get Cities and a couple other local tech community partners here in town. And our focus was, how can we support underrepresented professionals who are trying to break into venture capital? Because the VC industry, it can be very opaque, how you get jobs. It's a very people-driven industry.
Yeah. Networking.
Exactly. And we really wanted to democratize access to that entire ecosystem. Yeah. So through this program, there are really 3 things that we do. Number 1, we provide venture finance training to our fellows. Number 2, we open up our networks of VCs to those fellows. And again, we were founded by VCs, so we work with a lot of firms here in town and outside Chicago too. But the heart and soul of the program is the sourcing work that we require our fellows to do. So we want to give them a little bit of experience, something that they can talk about on their resume as they're applying for jobs, right? So one way that they can provide immediate value to local VC firms is by talking to founders and sourcing companies, sourcing deal flow that they can pitch to investors. So again, we launched this program a little over a year ago. We're in our 4th cohort now. It's a cohort style program. So
how many are in the cohort?
Yep. So we usually have about 10 to 12, and then we host the cohort twice a year. So about 20 to 25 fellows per year that we are supporting. The really cool thing, though, something we're very proud of, is back to that sourcing piece. In the year or so that we've had this program, across all of our cohorts, our fellows have talked to more than 700 founders, most of them here in the region. They have pitched about 50 of them to local VC firms and VCs outside the city as well. And 5 of those companies have actually been funded.
Oh, that's great. So that's a really amazing scale, right?
And if you look at just like the typical deal flow funnel for a VC firm, they'll talk to 2,000 companies in a year and maybe invest in 10. Right. So in terms of our throughput, it's actually pretty much what you would expect. In terms of the industry standard. So that's kind of on the wire side, but on the higher side, because that's our other metric that we look at. How are we actually helping these folks break into venture? We're really proud to say that more than 80% of our fellows who were actively applying to VC roles have since landed a job in VC or a role in VC post-program. So we've got really good placement numbers there. And I think the credit is really to, the very engaged VC community that we have here in the region. We actually did a count. So I mentioned earlier through our diversity data work, we look at the entire VC workforce. So we have about 900 workers who are actively working at Chicago area firms. About 10% of them, 1 in 10 of that entire workforce, have directly participated in this program in some substantive way, either by mentoring, by speaking to the fellows, by hosting them. So, we're looking to increase that number, but I think it shows that the venture community, at least here in town, is very attuned to some of the diversity gaps that we have, and they're trying to do something about it, which is exciting. But it sounds
like you're also solving a very critical problem for them, right? Like this isn't charity, actually. Like one thing that we see in the research center is that the number one question that VC firms or or really any corporate interest trying to expand into Chicago is, or anywhere, is where's the talent? They want access to talent. And so your fellowship program, right, solves that in a number of ways, both for talent trying to connect with venture capital firms, but also they want to connect with the talent and really want to kind of find a way to do it easy and painless, right? If you can say, hey, here's some cohorts. So sounds really, that actually sounds like a really exciting fellowship. So then that's where you're kind of at now. And you shared a little bit about where, your origin stories. What does the next 5 years look like for you? For Chicago Blend.
Absolutely. So for us, we really want to double down on the work that we're doing around building that talent pipeline of aspiring investors, as well as continuing to support underrepresented founders who are looking to raise capital. So in terms of the Chicago Blend Venture Fellowship Program, there are some things that we think we could scale to increase our impact, both in terms of the number of fellows that we're serving, as well as the number of companies that they're able to source and pitch.
Right.
So for us, we really want to accelerate that flywheel effect. That's one piece of it. But we know that these this problem at an industry level, at a national level, is really big, and it's not going away anytime soon. Something that we have been particularly bullish about recently is, for us, we are starting to see this very unfortunate backlash against DEI efforts. It's really being dragged into the culture wars that's just happening politically. And for us, DEI is not a political issue. It's really good business, but it's also good for society, so there's kind of a double bottom line there. So for us, we really want to continue to make the case for why diversity wins, why it is good from an economic development standpoint, why it's good for companies and for businesses. And we really think that Chicago can serve as a model for how other cities can build in a more equitable way.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's really, really exciting. So then let's close this up. Thank you for sharing all of that, but let's leave folks with an idea of how they can get involved. This is, again, super exciting. So how can folks get involved?
Absolutely. So if you're a venture capitalist, whether you are based in the Chicago region or not, we want to talk to you because in addition to building up this talent pipeline that you might want to hire from, they're also sourcing deals that you might want to take a look at. So that's for the VC side. If you are a startup founder who is actively raising capital, again, we've got this cadre of fellows who want to talk to you and who want to help you get in front of VCs and are willing to do some of that kind of heavy lift to network you into our community. So we have something for, whether you're a founder or an investor. And if you're just someone in the tech community who's just really interested about the intersection of tech and equity issues, we're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for people to get engaged with our work. We host events throughout the year. So definitely want to hear from you. And certainly if you are an organization, a company, or corporation that also cares about these issues and understand the value of DEI. We are always looking to partner with great companies, sponsorship opportunities. We've got things of that nature. So would love to talk.
All right, great. So what I want to share today also is we have some really exciting news about a collaborative effort coming out in couple of days. So tell us about what it is, Joey.
Yeah, definitely. So, we've had the privilege of working with World Business Chicago in a number of different capacities, but something I've been really excited about is a collaborative report that we've been working on with the Research Center at WBC. So we're, given that we've been around for 5 years now, we want to take a look back and really understand, what type of progress has been made in terms of representation among venture-backed companies. Because that's really ultimately what it comes down to is, are founders getting the capital that they need to grow? Are they able to hire the people that they need to hire in order to grow our broader tech community? So, we're really looking forward to releasing that, this collaborative report with WBC. And
it was super fun to geek out over the data with another organization. So we are also, really excited about it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to you and your team, Rob. And you all have been a lot of fun to work with. And I'm really excited to get this out in the world.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Joey.